Trying to teach the children some manners, how to eat from a plate. Ooh, got some big daddies coming in, eh? You ain't one of them. You a Currawong. Look at this. All getting along like family. So cute. Now they're learning what's like to eat out of a nice clean dish. Of course they're a bit shy because I'm standing here. They've already been given a good feed too, mind you, so the hungry hordes have already been fed, so now the bigger guys are going to come in and get some scraps. Hello, Mr. Currawong. They're all slowly getting tamer and tamer. That's just the baby magpie, that one. You can tell because he's still greyish. Currawong's the big boss. Well, the human doesn't seem to be trapping the other guys. Maybe he won't trap me. They're cute. You better get some before it's all gone. Eating from the human dish? What's this? We birds can't bring ourselves down to eat from the human level. Look at you, little fatty, you're going to get diabetes. You're definitely going to get diabetes if you chase away a big bird like that. Look at you, just shoving your gullet. I have to stop feeding you. Looks like you miss out, mate. Little greedy guts down here is going to gobble up the freaking lot. Classic. Well, hey, this is Iron Horse here, and I just thought I'd do another presentation. I've been meaning to do one for a while, and haven't got around to it. And just thought I'd take a quick video of the birds. Might turn that light off actually. I mean, close that curtain. Sort of an overcast day, so it's going to interfere with the light. And I'll turn this artificial one on. And I'll get this started in just a second, and I'm going to present a few more things that I've been meaning to present, so give me 2 minutes. Right, yeah, cool, got the camera set up. I have to do this in a certain amount of time before the camera automatically times itself out. And so just let me go prepare some marker pens and so forth. And I'll be right back again. Just keeping the camera alive, be right back again. Alrighty, well, finally got here. Okay, so some of the things I realised I left out of it, the Coriolis effect video, which I did mean to get back to. Actually, there's quite a few, and I can't remember all of them because there's quite some. The main one was, as I was talking about, is the 360-degree rotation. And what I should have also done, which I was thinking in my head, is I was going to get a drill, and unfortunately I would have to put a hole in this. And I am trying to avoid that. There's probably an easier way around it, because this has already got a hole in it. All I really need to do is put a spike in it, and that would work. So as you can see then, just as the original azimuthal equidistant map was created, it actually had arms to rotate around the centre. And I was also hoping that I'd have my 24-hour clock by this stage, but it hasn't arrived yet. I got my new work boots in the mail, but not my new clock. I'm also waiting on a 12-volt jump starter battery pack thing as well, which also hasn't come, which is, that's how when you order things off the internet, you never know. Sometimes you get it in 3 days, sometimes you get it in 3 weeks. It's just the luck of the draw. So I really wanted to stress how revolutions per minute are a tool of the bamboozler. The globalist will use this 15 degrees per minute. So I'll try and do another circle here, and hopefully it'll be in a nice dark colour, because there's no way I could draw a circle that way well again. Is this one going to work? Right. So it's a little bit oblate there. If we drew the arcs through it, I mean that right there, the cross in the circle, is pretty well one of the oldest symbols of the sun. Why would it be called that, of the sun? Because, well, originally it would be done like this, because when they had a sun festival to represent the seasons, you'd have to stick it on a pole, wouldn't you? The pole's sticking in the ground, and then you put that through it as well. So that symbol there is the oldest, but it's really technically only of that bit, which is that. So it's a sun symbol, and it's a, it's a sun calendar, as you can also see. I think I showed that last time. Divided into 4s, you got 3 months. So what do we got? 3 bits of the pie. And over here you've also got 3 bits of the pie, and they all go exactly through the centre, as you can see. That's the North Pole exact centre. And then you've got your months, 12 months of the year, 12 hours of the clock. But of course we know that it's a 24-hour clock. So you sort of got to draw the extra ones in if you want to get the 24 hours. That's how we've got the sundial, the symbol of the sun. So technically each of those 12 is in fortnights, and fortnights of course means 14 nights. 2 lots of 7 is 14. So mathematics is a huge part of this. So I'll have to leave some room to do some mathematics here, because that's the important part. You see, the Glober's argument is constantly that mathematics and wizardry and, spherical trigonometry is proof we live on a spinning space ball hurtling through the vacuum of space with a pressurized atmosphere all in one nothing. Oh, sorry, gravity. And a big shout out to the Globebusters, who just did a really cool discussion on gravity, which I jumped in. There's a good half hour into it, unfortunately, so I would have liked to have been there from the start, so I didn't see what inspired it, but apparently it was to do with the, apparently some people still from Flat Earth are saying that the Flat Earth is rising up at the 9.8 meters per second, which would have to be 9.8 meters per second squared, which would make it become infinitely fast. in order to create the illusion of gravity. Whereas I just say things drop because the density of air isn't sufficiently dense to resist it, whereas the density of my hand is, and so it stops. So the force is actually resistance. The dropping is a lack of force. The floor is a force. That's what's holding me up. So the only force is resistance. And if you think about it historically, if you're at war with somebody, you describe the enemy as the resistance. It's the resistance. It's not, especially if you're attacking. Anyway. So if we've got 24 hours in a day, let's do some mathematics here. 24 into 360. We know it goes in there once. 24 leaves 2 and 1, and then you get 120. It goes 5 times. 5 4s are 20. Carry on the 2. 5 2s are 10. Plus the 2 is 12. So that's our remainder 0. So we know we've got exactly 15 degrees per 24 hours in a 360 degree circle. So every single one of these angles down here is 15. I have to invest in some new pens already. Maybe this one will work. That's 15. They're all 15 degrees. If I had drawn it symmetrically and geometrically correctly. And as it has been done here, every single one of these lines in here, because this is a 24-hour clock, they are all exactly 15 degrees. And when you get 24 of them, you get 360. 360 degrees in a clock. In a circle. And the mechanical clock can only measure 360 degrees. So as you saw with the sundial example, if we got an equator around the center, let's just say about there, we've got a tropic of Capricorn around there, and we've got a tropic of Cancer around there. So if you're either side of the equator with your sundial, with your gnomon, actually your gnomon's going to be pointing, towards the north. Might have to draw that bigger, but you saw me do the sundials already. So we know how that works. So as the sun goes around the equator, the shadows coming from it, going either side, are going to spread through it, like in the wake of a boat. And that'll start going behind it, spiraling opposite directions. So that's our Coriolis effect explained. So what we should next understand more clearly is the precision of a 24-hour clock. Now, if you drew an hour hand on the clock, maybe red will work. We'll have a look. You drew the hour hand and you put it all the way up to there. So every hour, as it points to a different number, adding there, 0, 0, or 24, 23's there, 1's there, 6, 9. As it rotates throughout the 24-hour day, it matters not how far the hour hand is from the center. If the hour hand was this long and it still took 24 hours to go right around, it is still only going to move 15 degrees per hour. And this is the biggest argument that the globers are using when they talk about their globe Earth is only rotating 15 degrees per hour. And you can do it with all manner of mathematics, and you're going to keep coming back to these numbers. And there's another one in there which is the 69.444. And if you use the 25,000 mile circumference figure, 25,000 miles. So the equator is the 25,000 mile circle. If you use that, and then that's then said to be 1 secondo, it's then said to be that the equator line is 25,000 mile circumference. Whichever way you look at it, it's not going to change because it's a ball. It's always going to be 25,000 miles, no matter how much you tilt it. To rotate around once at 25,000, you divide that by, pick a figure, 24, 15, 360. You will still keep coming back to the same conclusion that 1 degree will equal 69.444 repeater miles. So if you multiply that figure by 15, you'll end up getting something that represents about, actually look, let's just do it. Let's just say 44 times 15. So it's 15 there. So 5 4s 20, add 2. 5 4s 20, add 2. 5 4s 20, add 2. Put 2 there. 5 1s 45, 7. And 5 6 are 30, so 31. And then we add the naught in there and add 69. And then we could do the 444 as well, I guess. Or was it 69D? Let's see how this works out. I haven't done this yet before. 4 6 6 7 1 2 7. No, you don't do it that way. I thought I'd test. Just checking. So if we actually do it 69 instead, so 690, add that up, 4 6 6 7 10. Oh, 10, there it is. So 1,000, that can't be right either. Ends up being 1,035. What did you do wrong? Bloody mathematics, man. Either way, I'm going to start it again because I know what I'm talking about. Right, yeah, I'm doing this now because off the top of my head, under the pressure of the camera, I just suck at maths. I admit it, 52 years old, an old dog forgets his new I've forgotten. Right, yeah, so if we've got 360 degrees into 25,000 mile ball, that's the sort of thing that's just easy to work out off the top of your head. It's just like 69.444 because I used a calculator just to double check, to make sure I'm right. So then if you do the 69.444, 1 second, and you multiply that by 15, it's 1041.666 to infinity, or 7. 7's close enough. So that 1041.6667 miles per hour is the rotational speed that the equator would have to be moving in order for the sun to appear relative to the earth to be moving 15 degrees per hour to make a single rotation and get back to where it started from. Now, this is going to take a sec. Now, this is the mathematics I'm talking about. if you then divide 25,000 by 24, have a guess what the answer is. Get your calculator out and check it with me as you go. It's going to be 1,041.66666 infinity to 7. Exact same figure if you divide it by 360 and multiply it by 15. So therefore, you know, if you do 360 by 15, as we've done already, you get 24, or vice versa. Divide by 24, you get 15. So for a 25,000 mile circumference equator, the 1041.6 repeater answer is indisputably mathematically correct, unless of course you want to say it's 24,900 and chump change, whatever. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what reference frame you use. You'll just get a different figure here for the vector velocity, which is going to be slightly different, but it is still going to be, whichever way you go around it, 15 degrees per hour on a 24-hour, 24 segment, 24 pieces of pizza. A circle divided into 24, 360 divided by 24 is 15 degrees per hour. So if the hour hand is all the way out here and made a big circuit, or it's here at the equator and made a circuit, or it's here at the North Pole and made a circuit, it makes no difference. RPMs, revolutions per minute, is going to be exactly the same, 0.00694 RPMs for a circle. It's just spherical trigonometry, the stuff that the mathematicians who like to think we live on a spinning space ball say that the surface of the earth is moving half the speed of the hour hand of a clock, and that's really, really slow, like paint drying. That's how they get away with it, because yes, if it was taking 24 hours to go around that size circle, it would be very, very slow. It's just like on a racetrack. I mean, surely everybody did athletics of some sort as a kid growing up. I used to do a lot. I was a runner. I was a long distance runner, and the long distance runners know especially that when you're doing the 100-yard dash, 100-meter dash, that's just a straight line, because the track 400 meters wide has 100 meters straight. Like you might have to make a few lanes down one bit past the corner to be straight. And you start down there, you know, it's the old stadia, isn't it? That's your racetrack. So if it's 400 meters all the way around, the 100 meters might finish here, but you sort of start about back here a bit, and that's your lanes. But for the 400 meter race, you all had a lane that you started at. And so the way to make it fair for each person is that person started there, this one started here, this one started here, this one started here, and that one started there, because the distance of the outside circle is bigger than the inside circle. So the guy on the inside track is actually going less distance in the same amount of time. Therefore, if his speed matches this guy and they all started here, across that line, and ran a track each, then that's how they'd finish, staggered like that, if they were running the same speed. So technically, you are not going the same speed out here as you are here as you are here. But that's how the Globers try and confuse you, because they're saying, but you still only go 15 degrees per hour, or 0.0000694 RPMs, so it's the same speed. It is not. The bigger the track you go around, the faster you are going to cover the same circumference, same rotation in the same amount of time. So if we had an hour hand out here, for example, and we said that's 4,000 miles, and we said here it's only, well actually it's the equator that's 4,000. So we'd say that that one was actually 8. But if that's the equator, again, going back to our globe, because it's a lot easier, I think, when you're looking at models. If from here to the center and from the center to here, 4,000 miles, that's your radius, okay? Either way, any way you look towards the center, it's 4,000. 8,000 from there to there, half of that is 4,000. That's how we get the radius and stuff of the globular Earth. So the further from the center you are, even if you're only going 0.00694 RPMs at a time, by the time you're at the size of the equator, that bit, you're going 1,041.6667 miles per hour. And now if the average speed of sound at the sea level in normal humidity, the easiest way I've remembered this speed, so it's an easy one to remember. I've looked up various different speeds of the speed of sound, and the easiest one is 767. Think of the Boeing 767, 767 miles per hour. So if you divide 767 into 1,041, you will get approximately 1.35 or 1 1/3 times the speed of sound. So at any given moment in time, the Earth's equator is spinning 1 1/3 times as fast as the speed of sound, which means technically if you're standing on the equator and you're speaking to somebody, they will never hear it because they're moving 1/3 as fast, the speed of sound, that it will never catch up with you again. You're constantly getting away from it, which we all know is an absolute load of bullshit. And that's what the globe is. It is the biggest pile of bullshit mankind has ever been told. So if you can bear all that in mind, I think I'll just leave it, because what we're going to do next is use our imaginariums, that thing inside our head where we can just visualize stuff visually. Like when you're dreaming, obviously, when you're dreaming, are you physically in that very realistic place where you can fly and do stuff and whatever's going on? Or is it all just happening somewhere deep inside where the universe exists? And I think I could even make a whole video on that. In fact, I'm going to talk about it for 2 seconds after I wet the whistle. Because it's my belief that the universe that we've been convinced we live within is a mental construct created by the archons, convincing us to believe in this invisible realm that only exists within the 6 inches of space between our ears. But because it's created within the minds of so many people, and that we people are the creators of reality, that we have created a universe of their construction, and we're the builders of their design. And by us believing in it, we give them an invisible realm within which they are able to exist, because they are not able to exist here in the physical realm. We are the physical realmers, and that is why they are so jealous, because the physical realm, you can drink stuff, you can breathe the air, you can run and jog, you can feel pain, you can do so much stuff here in the physical realm that they cannot do. do. All spiritual knowledge, as great as it may be, and it is the highest vibrational frequency of knowledge, and you will know so much more once you go to the physical, spiritual realm, leave the physical. The difference is, in the physical realm, you get physical experiences. And that kind of makes them jealous, especially when they watch us and go, life is so wasted on the living. So yeah, didn't really want to interject too much in the way of my spiritual philosophical stuff, but it's just worth bearing in mind that I think the reason for the big bamboozle, the big bang and the big spinny space ball around through space and the universe, because the bigger we can imagine the universe to exist, because we have to imagine it, we can't see or experience or feel it, we can't walk on other planets, but the bigger that we can imagine it, the bigger the realm we are creating for them to exist upon, which is the dream realm. So when you wake up, you're no longer creating a fantasy realm for evil spirits to exist. And when I say evil, I don't mean necessarily bad or nasty or anything like that. I'm just saying evil, spelled backwards, is live. And when we're a child, when we learn language, we're fresh from the womb. We've been listening to voices for up to 9 months since our ears developed and slowly come into consciousness, and we hear the sounds and things and everything. And so when we come out into the experiential realm of the physical, what we experience first to the time we experience something last, like, for example, let me just use the word evil. The innocent young baby hearing the word evil hears the L last, the I second last, the V third, and the E sound last, because it's hearing it backwards in time. And so that's why baby speak is babble speak. It's Luga. Instead of mama, it's mum. That's if you watch that Simpsons episode where Homer's long lost brother, I think it was, comes and creates the baby speak device so that mothers can understand what their babies are speaking. All it is doing, it had a cassette tape in it, is it records what the baby speaks and then just plays it backwards. And then you can hear what the baby was actually trying to say, because the baby is speaking backwards until they learn to speak backwards, and then they're speaking forwards. That's just the way of the world. Everything is backwards. And that is why, if anybody has ever looked into magic and Crowley and all those sort of things, is one of their keys of knowledge and learning is to actually learn backwards speak. If you've seen the videos of reverse speech, some people sit there and analyse hours and hours and hours of politicians speak. And when they play it backwards, you actually hear the truth of the message of what they were really saying. When they're saying, we love you, we care for you, what they're really saying is, we hate you, we want to kill you and eat your babies. Yeah, that sort of shit. You know, I'm exaggerating a little bit just to get my point across, but you know what I mean, is that what we've just heard last is what we've heard the most recent. And so in our memory, that's the first, and then it travels back. So when you travel back through your memory, the first thing you heard is now the last. Time travel. And it goes both ways. there's time travel happening all around you. That's why the only way you can find peace is to live here in the now. But that's a subject for another day, another now later on. Not today. Today we're talking about other stuff. So, order assistant. I don't need no dang order assistant. Flick off. So back to the subject now. So if we can imagine then, in our imaginarium, that this spinning is our everyday experience. It's a little bit like being on a merry-go-round. It's a very, very slow merry-go-round. It takes 15 degrees per hour. But the closer you are to the centre, the slower it would appear. The further you are to the outside, the faster it would appear. So here, at the 4,000 mile circumference, that's where we're going 1.35 times the speed of sound. By the time you double that, you're going almost Mach 3. If we're to use the analogy of an analog clock. And, geez, this is one that also occurred to me today and last night and stuff, because I'm arguing a lot of this stuff on Facebook in discussions, which is sort of what I'm searching for, because I've got a few to get back to, but they can wait. Is that chronological time? Where does the word chronological come from? It comes from Chronos. Chronos is also known as Saturn. Both of them, well, the one, the two, you got to do the two symbol, the Chronos and Saturn, the great deceiver, the god of time. What is time? Well, time is a trap. It's a time trap, and it's a prison, and that is where Chronos is imprisoned here in space and time. All the other angelic beings are free to coexist, to be. They don't have time. There's no such thing as time outside of the physical realm, and that is why the god of this world, the physical world, is Satan, who is Saturn. And Saturn, the Lord of the Rings, one ring to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. I don't know if you've ever looked up the sound of Saturn's rings, but it's almost the identical same sound as when they put a microphone down the bottom of that super deep, what's it called, the one in Russia, the super deep mine anyway, the coal or something. Can't think right now. Doesn't really matter, but they can reach a maximum of just short of 8 miles deep. And when they put a microphone down there, listen to that one as well, because you can search that on YouTube. Oh man, getting the itchy crawlies. They're coming out, man. I'm getting bugged. Hang on. That's what the doctor would have. If you listen to those sounds, the sounds of Saturn rings, the sound of the super deep borehole, coal or whatever, with a K, it sounds almost identical. It sounds like what you'd expect you would hear from thousands and thousands and thousands of souls being tortured for all eternity in a burning fiery pit that cannot be allowed to die. Hell, in other words. Why is Satan associated with hell? Maybe hell is that thing up there, that light with the rings around it, and those rings, every little speck of those rings is a soul. That's something I've long pondered, and I wouldn't be surprised when you head to the light, if that's one of them. A lot of people say the moon is another soul harvester. When you leave your physical body, don't head to that light. It just recycles you and sends you back down here. What is the true light? Hard to say. But only one way to find out, isn't there? And I think it's probably better and easier to stay alive. Just don't die. Don't get recycled. You know, like, yeah, just a thought. That went a long way around. Oh, chronological time, Chronos, God of time, chronology. So Chronos is the God of time, which does sort of lend itself, in a sense, to the sun, Lucifer the light bearer, Lucy in the sky with diamonds, the giver of light and life, the God of this world, which is where heliocentrism gets its roots in the first place. Helios, the sun god, giver of light and life, God of time. This is the world we live upon. This is probably why Jesus had to whisper it into his disciples' ears and said, don't tell anybody or they will want to kill you with swords. Well, here I am, come get me. This is the world we live upon. This is Satan's realm. The realm of God is above the firmament. That is why it is said, when a child is born to its mother, she bears them, and the child works and learns from the mother until it comes of an age, until it is ready to go and work in the Father's fields. The Father's fields are the realm of heaven. So until you're ready to become a star, an enlightened being, you keep coming back to the mother's realm and learning the same lessons over and over and over till you get it right. But if you break the spell, which is what I'm trying to get at here, if you break the spell and you understand the heliocentric deception, it's the truth that sets you free. So the heliocentric deception is that we're not just spinning 1.35 times the speed of sound, but the sun is in the center. And so all the constellations that we see circulating around above us. See, this is the thing. Somebody even asked this one, and I have to use this now because somebody asked, how do you as a flat earther measure a year? How do you measure a year? Okay, well, that's a good question. How do you measure a year? And the simple answer is it's got something to do with the number of rotations of the sun until it reaches Tropic of Cancer, June 22nd, and then spirals back down again through the tunnel until it reaches the Tropic of Capricorn, and it twice passes the equinoxes of the equator. You could technically, theoretically, measure a year off any one of those definitive points. The Tropic of Cancer, which is our summer solstice, sorry, the inner hemisphere's summer solstice, our winter solstice. You can measure off the equator, the two equinoxes, works for everybody, or you can measure it off the Tropic of Capricorn, which is December 22nd, which is the one that the northern hemisphere used because that's when their Son of God was so far south that for the people in the far northern inner hemisphere, the inner side, were in almost perpetual 24-hour daylight. And this sort of comes from the Swedes, I believe. I believe that's where the original Saint Nicholas, or the the Santa Claus, the whole origins of the Christmas story originated, is that it was so far south that it would dip below the horizon and vanish and stay there for 3 days and nights. And so these ancient Nordics who were just trying to survive and living their lives, and perpetually snow-covered pine trees, sitting under there, they'd have some tallow candles lit, and they'd be drying out some fly agaric mushrooms which came from the reindeer. Fly agaric, what makes you fly? The fly agaric mushroom is that red and white spotted one, which makes you astral travel, which means travel through the stars. So on the particular night of the year, the winter solstice, celebrating with their friends, they'd drink some spiced wine, they'd share their last meal, and they'd take the fly agaric mushroom and they'd go off on a trip, astral travel, to see where their sun god has gone down into the underworld, under the horizon. That's the underworld. And when they get there through the stars, they see this sullen cross. And they say, oh, their son of God has died on the cross. And after 3 days and nights, he returns from the underworld to be the perpetual giver of light and life. That's the whole reason why we still celebrate Christmas on the December 25th, 3 days after the December 22nd winter solstice, because the sun had gone into the underworld for 3 days and nights and has returned, the giver of life, perpetual giver of life, in accordance with the scriptures, the things that we've been told since the beginning. And so this became law. Folklore, L-O-R-E, becomes law, L-A-W. It's all folklore. It's all stories and fantasies. And give me 2 seconds here. Righto, well, thanks for bearing with me. I realise it's been going a little bit off track here, and what I'd like to do is just try to get it a little bit back on track. And by that, I need to train my mind to get it on the train track. Yeah, you see what I did there? Yeah, I know, it's another one of those double Nintendos where even Jesus said he came to speak with a double-edged sword. And I hate having to spell out the obvious to people, but did I just break the spell? What he really meant is the two-edged sword cuts both ways. So it could have a meaning that way, but it also has a meaning that way. So when you're on a train track, and why are we trained? Yeah, that's another thing. One of these globe earthers was saying how she is trained as a scientist. I was like, oh, that means you get on board, you take the ride to the journey, you get off at the destination, and now you've been trained. Well, here's your piece of paper, there's your passport. You are now a citizen of this degree. 15 degrees in an hour. How many degrees can you earn in a lifetime? Probably not all 360 of them, which is why I suggest don't learn by degrees, learn by holes. I don't mean rabbit holes. Or do I? So if we're back on track, a train track, and we say that this rotating merry-go-round is on a train track, going 1.35 times the speed of sound, the track that it is on, going around the sun, choo 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 choo, that is going 65 times faster than that 1.35 times the speed of sound, which works out to be about Mach 86.7 off the top of my head. Was it 87? Mach 80s. It's really fucking fast. It's 66,600 miles per hour. That is what we're told the orbital speed of the Earth to go around the sun is. Now, as soon as you start to try and think about the orbital, or not the orbit, what is this? As soon as you try and think about whatever the sun is meant to be doing in through the galaxy, going at 514,000 miles per hour, that makes that 66,600 mile per hour orbital speed really, really, really messy, because it's no longer a train track going around a train track, which would be great. That's how Copernicus did it in the first place. Put the sun in the middle, Earth. How do you put your arm through your arm like that? Jeez. Sorry about that. If the sun stayed still and the Earth 365.25 rotations around it, it helps make the heliocentric model a lot fair bit easier. But it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's like the more you think about it and the more you know about it, the crazier and more insane it sounds. So if we just said, for example, there we go, sun in the middle, train track going around it, the Earth every day shuffling. So the moon creates the phases as it orbits with us around the sun. Technically, the side facing the sun. Now, this is the most fundamental important thing that I've been trying to get at for a long time. And please pay attention, because it does my head in. The side facing the sun is spinning 1,041 miles per hour backwards, as the train track that it's on is going 66,600 miles per hour that way. So it's really hard to think in such big numbers on such a tiny scale. I don't know why, but we have to think of it all in tiny models to try and fathom it. But if we could imagine that on the grand scale of things, so 86.8 Mach that way, 1.35 times around on its surface, would mean that the outside surface is the 86.8 plus 1.35, so we'll just call it Mach 88 in rounded figures. That's our night time, because we're not looking at the sun. But then when we turn around and face the sun in the morning, time slows down technically, because you're now going backwards relative to the forward speed. So you're going Mach 86.8 minus Mach 1.35, and it's a gradual thing because it's a circle. So the circle going around and going linear means that all of this going that way is speeding up to this point and hitting this point, the front, and then as it starts going backwards relative to that forwards on the train track trajectory, it starts going slower until this point out here, the furthest from the middle of the center of rotation, is the slowest point, which that would be if we had the, what are we doing? See, it gets tricky, I tell you. If we're going that way, well, the sun would have to be up here or down here. Which way are we going? Put the sun down here, that's right, because here's 6 a.m. in the morning. So the sun's in the center, 93 million miles away, going 514,000 miles per hour, 500,000 miles per hour, a different direction three-dimensionally. We don't know which direction, but we're just orbiting it. So we'll treat the sun as standing still to make it simple, as Copernicus did. The Copernican model said the sun is standing still as we and the other wandering stars go around it. So if the sun's down here, then by the time we hit midday, that's actually going to be the slowest time we go all day long. And that'll be 86.8 minus 1.35. So it's about Mach 85-ish. And then as it starts going backwards, it starts to speed up slightly because it's still moving that way at the Mach 86.8 speed. And then when it hits here, then that there would be sunset time. So sunset is the back of the Earth as we're orbiting the sun. And then by 12 midnight, that's going to be the fastest because it's going with the train at the longest arm. So that's probably why, I sort of jokingly said that's probably why we have to sleep at night, because we're moving so much faster. It rushes too much blood to our head or something, we have to just sleep. But it's a bit of a joke. But technically, that's true. According to the heliocentric model, we are actually going faster till midnight. That's why when you wake up at midnight, I've got to pee, get back to bed, and then the next thing, it's 4 a.m. I'm going to get up. Yeah. That time travels much faster because you're moving with it. Well, did not Einstein and shit say that time and space and shit is all relative? So let's not forget now. Let's just have another quick look at the sun calendar. So each one of these is a day. Each little segment, 365.25 of them, is a day. Each one of them represents a rotation of the Earth going around the sun. So every single time at 66,600 miles per hour, we've travelled 1.6 million miles in a day, but the part travelling backwards, rotating backwards, like a big merry-go-round sitting on a train, is going that little bit slower. So therefore, the speed we are going constantly all the time cannot be a constant speed. It simply cannot. It has to be about Mach 88 at midnight to about Mach 84, 85 at midday. So every 12 hours, we're moving a difference of at least a Mach 3 difference. And we still feel nothing. And for the nail in the coffin, since we've got to nail that, if then we were on that spinning space ball, let's not forget the 3D object spinning space ball, because we have to keep that in mind. So if this is the night side and that's the day side, and the sun's over there, so that it's actually going that away. It took me a long time to be able to even find that information. It's actually going that way, not like this way. Although you'd think that way would be a bit more logical. It's actually going west to east. So it's going that way around the sun. Then things falling. This is the final nail in the coffin for today's video, because I've already ranted and raved for so long. Is that a thing falling, as it shot up from the Earth, should land miles behind, but instead, because the atmosphere moving with Earth effect, forget weather and wind and all that sort of shit, means that if you shot a cannon straight up as the earth spun beneath it, the cannonball is still going to come and land exactly down the barrel. So it's done this huge parabolic arc and straightened up just enough to land down the barrel, as opposed to up and down, as you would think would be logical. Is that at different times of the day, because of the orbital speed, nearly dropped the whole world. The orbital speed, as opposed to the actual rotation, the orbital speed is 65 times faster than the actual rotation. So if the axial rotation keeps the atmosphere moving with the spinning space ball, orbital speed 65 times faster would still necessitate that a thing dropping would be moving diagonally faster sideways, at least 30 times faster than it is falling straight down, in order to create the illusion of dropping straight down. So therefore, here we go now, the night side going Mach 3 faster than the sun side going relatively backwards to the orbital speed means that every single object in existence must have inbuilt artificial intelligence to know exactly how fast the spinning spaceball is both spinning and orbiting at any given moment of time, in every given location, in every different latitude, in order to create the illusion of simply dropping straight down. Hurrah! I have just annihilated the spinning spaceball again. Because if you can grasp that, if you can grasp that every single thing must know intrinsically exactly which speed every single different part of the spinning spaceball is going at any given different moment in time on a 24-hour day as it's orbiting at 66,600 miles per hour, in order to create the illusion of dropping straight down, logic, Occam's razor. Shoot something straight up, it falls straight back down. That works. The bullshit you have to believe in the spinning spaceball means that you either don't understand it, which is generally the case, or if you do understand it, you are just absolutely mentally insane and there's not much help for you. But as soon as you do understand it, and then you look at it logically, and then you realize, oh yeah, that is actually correct. Hello, welcome. The truth sets you free. I am Iron Horse, and I will be back for more.